Introduction. Out amongst the most difficult endeavours a human can go into. It is a standout in the midst of the most effective mental orders people have created in their time on this planet. It has changed the course of human occasions far and wide in conduct that are both unpretentious and in some that are very self-evident. Philosophy has advanced or emerged in each significant human progress. It is a characteristic improvement for psyches that are asking and basic. Individuals go to the perusing and contemplating of philosophy through various ways. Numerous, maybe most, do as such in light of the fact that they have entered some formal instructive system that has the investigation of philosophy as a major aspect of educational programs of studies. Somewhere in the range of a couple come to philosophy since they have a psyche that is addressing and they need to take in more about the issue or matter that is in their brains. Thus, they are driven through this regular, however, less made-a-trip way to the entryway of philosophy as they find that there are books on the subject that astounds or bewilders them or mixes them to ponder, and they discover that these books are composed of scholars. A great many people who take a school course in philosophy do as such without having had another. Most will take one and only, a large number of them do as such fundamentally to fulfill some degree necessity. Without a doubt, numerous understudies in a school philosophy course are just intrigued by completing the course, keeping in mind the end goal to get their credits, and those credits are to fulfill a degree requirement. The degree is wanted as a way to some flip side, exchange to a 4-year school, a vocation, distinctive occupation, or advancement. In any case, this content is intended to empower your brain. Whether you read it since it is required, or whether you are truly keen on the topic, there will be a bounty in this investigation of philosophy to premium you, amuse your psyche, provoke you and baffle you also. This entire book, which you are going to come across, revolves around philosophy as well as its different aspects. So why not give it a read? Chapter 1. What is philosophy? Individuals are justifiably confounded about what philosophy is. From a separation, it appears to be strange, superfluous, exhausting, but then, additionally, only a little charming. Be that as it may, it's difficult to put a finger on what the interest truly is. What are logicians? What do they do? Furthermore, why does one need them? Fortunately, the answer is now contained in the word philosophy itself. In Greek, philo implies love or commitment, and sophia implies insight. Thinkers are individuals dedicated to knowledge. In spite of the fact that a fairly dynamic term, the idea of knowledge isn't strange. Being shrewd means endeavour to live amazing, driving as great an existence as could be allowed inside of the harried states of presence. The objective of wisdom is satisfaction. You could maybe say contentment, however, joy is deceiving, for it proposes non-stop chirpiness and happiness, while satisfaction appears to be good with a great deal of torments and enduring, which each okay life you must have. So, a thinker or individual committed to wisdom is somebody who takes a stab at efficient aptitude at working out how one might best discover individual and aggregate satisfaction. In their quest for knowledge, scholars have built up a particular aptitude set. They have, throughout the hundreds of years, got to be specialists in an immense portion of the general, expansive things that make individuals not extremely insightful. 6 focal ones have been recognized. First, don't ask big questions. What is the significance of life? What would it be a good idea for you to do with your work? Where are you going as a general public? What is affection? The vast majority of you have these inquiries in your psyches sooner or later, frequently amidst the night. However, you give up all hope of attempting to answer them. They have the status of jokes in most social circles, and people get short of communicating them, aside from brief minutes in youthfulness, inspired by a paranoid fear of being thought self-important and of getting no place. Yet these inquiries matter profoundly in light of the fact that just with sound responses to them would people be able to coordinate their energies definitively. Philosophers are individuals unafraid of the substantial inquiries. They have, throughout the hundreds of years, asked the exceptionally biggest. They understand that these inquiries can simply be separated into more sensible pieces, and that the main truly grandiose thing is to think one is above consistently raising innocent-sounding inquiries. Second, people should be exposed to faults of common sense. Popular feeling, or what gets called judgment skills, is sensible and rational in endless zones. It's what you find out about from companions and neighbours, the stuff that is simply thought to be genuine, the stuff you take in without deduction about it. The media pumps it out by the gallon consistently. Be that as it may, sometimes sound judgment is additionally brimming with stupidity, blunder, and the most terrible preference. Philosophy motivates us to present all parts of judgment skills to reason. It makes people think for them, to be freer. Is it truly genuine what individuals say in regards to cherish, about cash, about kids, about go, about work? Philosophers are keen on asking whether a thought is coherent, as opposed to just accepting it must be correct in light of the fact that it is well known and since quite a while ago settled. Third, people are bad at comprehending what goes ahead in their own personalities. One knows that he or she truly likes a bit of music. Be that as it may, people battle to say very why. Then again, somebody they meet is extremely irritating. However, they can't bind what the issue is. On the other hand, people lose their temper. However, can't promptly inform what they are so cross concerning. People need knowledge for their own fulfillments and aversions. That is the reason we have to inspect our own personalities. Philosophy is focused on self-information, and its focal statue, explained by the soonest, most noteworthy savant, Socrates, are only 2 words in length. Know yourself. Fourth, people have mixed up ideas about what will make them happy. People are intensely determined to attempt to be upbeat, yet turn out badly in their quest for it all the time. They misrepresent the force of a few things to enhance their lives, and underrate others. In a purchaser's society, people settle on the wrong decisions in light of the fact that, guided by false fabulousness, people continue envisioning that a specific sort of occasion, or a car, or PC will have a greater effect than it can. In the meantime, people belittle the commitment of different things, like going for a walk, cleaning a cabinet, having an organised discussion, or going to bed early, which might have little notoriety, yet can contribute profoundly to the character of presence. Philosophy looks to be shrewd by getting more exact about the exercises and mentalities that truly can help people's lives to go better. Fifth, emotions can send one in dangerous directions. People are unpreventable enthusiastic creatures who, however, routinely overlook this uncomfortable actuality. Once in a while, certain feelings, certain sorts of indignation, jealousy or hatred, lead people into genuine inconvenience. Philosophers show people to consider their feelings instead of just having them. By comprehension and breaking down their sentiments, people can figure out how to perceive how feelings sway on their conduct in surprising, irrational and some of the time unsafe ways. Scholars were the principal advisors. Sixth, people panic and lose perspective. People are always losing a feeling of what makes a difference and what doesn't. They are, as the expression goes, always losing the point of view. That is the thing that scholars are great at keeping a hold of. On listening to the news that he'd lost every one of his belonging in a wreck, the Stoic scholar Zeno just said, "Fortune charges me to be a less burdened rationalist." It is reactions like these that have made the very term philosophical an aphorism for quite long-haul speculation and quality of psyche, to put it plainly, for point of view. What everyone calls the historical backdrop of theory comprises of rehashed accomplishments throughout the hundreds of years to address roots in which they are incautious. Along these lines, for instance, in old Athens, Socrates gave careful consideration to the issue of how individuals get befuddled in their brains. He was struck that individuals didn't exactly recognize what they implied by key thoughts, like strength or equity or achievement, despite the fact that these were the principal thoughts they utilized when discussing their own particular lives. Socrates built up a strategy, which still bears his name, by which you can figure out how to get clear about what you mean by disagreeing for the sake of arguing with any thought. The point isn't, as a matter of course, to alter your opinion. It is to test whether the thoughts managing your life are sound. A couple of decades later, the logician Aristotle attempted to make people surer around unavoidable issues. He imagined that the best inquiries were those that approach what something is for. He did this over numerous books, asked, "What is a government for? What is the economy for? What is cash for? What is craftsmanship for?" Today, he would be urging us to make inquiries like, "What is the news media for? What is marriage for? What are schools for? What is erotica for?" Likewise dynamic in ancient Greece were the Stoic savants, who were keen on frenzy. The Stoics saw a truly focal component of frenzy. People freeze when something awful happens, as well as when it does as such out of the blue, when they were accepting that everything was going to go rather well. So they recommended that we have to arm ourselves against frenzy by getting used to the thought that threat, inconvenience and trouble are prone to every step of the way. The general errand of contemplating philosophy is to assimilate these and numerous different lessons and set them to work on the planet today. The fact of the matter isn't simply to recognize what either scholar happened to say, yet to plan to practice shrewdness at an individual and societal level, beginning at this point. Had a clear introduction? Let's see where this all actually came from. Read the next 3 chapters, which are interlinked. Chapter 2. The Origins of Philosophy. At the terms of Socrates, 472 to 399 before Christ, and numerous Greeks were no more devotees to the stories of the divine beings and goddesses. Those stories had given them with direction to their lives. They had trusted that they couldn't conflict with the pronouncements of the divinities, and that they have to look at the illustrations of the divine beings and goddesses which they knew of because of the tales they all heard and remembered and rehashed. They acknowledged thoughts such a destiny and fate. Presently they were listening to the stories being tested, and some proclaimed their incredulity. The writers were bringing up issues on the stages, some idea they could browse among the stories that bolstered whatever courses of behaviour they pick. They trusted that they could demonstrate that some god or other affirmed of the behaviour on the grounds that God had accomplished something comparable. There were numerous who trusted that profound quality was individual and relative. At the period of Socrates, Greek society was experiencing a noteworthy upset. They were changing from an oral society to an educated society. They were procuring paper, thus they could record the stories and the plays as well as the essential thoughts. They no more expected to remember what they heard and rehash it as precisely as could reasonably be expected to keep in mind the end goal to transmit thoughts. Plato could record thoughts and analyze them. He could compose addresses and contemplated contentions for pursuers to reflect upon. Today, there are numerous individuals who no more successfully have confidence in the stories of the one God. There are numerous who are persuaded that there are no widespread good codes and individuals need to decide their own ethical quality. Further, the West is being changed from an educated society to an electronic society. People are toward the start of a period in which they are endeavouring to build up a profound quality for the new age. A lot of people no more acknowledge the thought of generally accepted fact. People should be looking at how they landed as of right now, beginning back with the Greeks at the season of Socrates. What philosophy turned out to be then and offered to individuals, it is still today, and could offer to every one of us if we somehow happen to seek after the philosophical way to deal with taking care of the issues and key inquiries. The majority of the key issues in philosophy were very evident in the progress of Plato and Aristotle. You might examine the Greeks, keeping in mind the end goal to see how philosophy emerges inside of a society and at the key issues. Some might likewise make correlations with the present time so as to value the importance of the greater part of this for each of us today. This content should make utilization of a hypothesis about training created by Alfred North Whitehead. Learning travels through stages. They are sentiment, exactness, speculation. It begins with interest, a story, an issue. There is very little basic intuition by any means. In the second stage, there is a lot of basic deduction concentrating on the issue and paying consideration on consistency, coherency, and the non-disagreement criteria by which believed is to be assessed. In the last stage, there is an arrival of the flights of creative energy again, as the psyche applies what is produced in the second stage and afterward applies it further. Chapter 3. Belief systems, postmodernism, and uncritical thinking. As individuals develop and mature and learn, they gain beliefs and hold belief frameworks. They do as such through getting and tolerating as genuine stories about how things are in this world and in a domain past this one, and through the beliefs certain in conventional dialect and its uses. Along these lines are gained presumptions and presuppositions for the points of view went through life. Before this, those gaining such beliefs need to be acknowledged and even esteemed by the different gatherings of which they are or yearning to be individuals, so there is an accentuation on the acknowledgement of the beliefs shared by individuals from those gatherings and not on audit or feedback of them. There is little, if any, intelligent thought or basic speculation occurring. Little is required if the land's share of gathering individuals are working with the beliefs without addressing of them. Once procured, the belief framework's capacity as a premise for the securing of extra beliefs. As another thought is exhibited, it is put inside of the connection of the beforehand gained beliefs, and if the new possibility for incorporation is steady with or cognizant with the earlier beliefs and thoughts, it is acknowledged as likewise being valid. This is the coherence's hypothesis of truth. The issue with that way to deal with truth is that there should be some other strategy for the foundation of the major beliefs, or else the whole structure of beliefs, while inside sound, won't be bolstered by any proof outside to the beliefs themselves. As belief frameworks grow, they can achieve a point where beliefs and thoughts have been acknowledged too hurriedly, and when a society or individual achieve a point where intelligent thought can manage irregularities and maybe even out, and inconsistencies might show up upon reflection. Upon the main acknowledgement of issues, the belief frameworks won't be relinquished inside and out, and won't be tossed into genuine uncertainty. Maybe there will be endeavours to save the belief framework through the presentation of qualifiers and exchange understandings intended to represent what are to be termed evident errors. This procedure will proceed until the presentation of the qualifiers and option elucidations achieves a point where they produce the requirement for considerably further such qualifiers, and the procedure then turns out to be burdensome to the point that the essential beliefs and thoughts might then go under the most watchful examination, and there is acknowledgement of a requirement for a substitute arrangement of beliefs that are all the more insight intelligible and fulfilling to requests of reason and the longing for external establishing. This happened in the time of Socrates, when the numerous stories about the divine beings and goddesses were seen through the eyes of basic thinking to be conflicting and indistinguishable. For Socrates, a premise for the establishment of profound quality and the social request was required other than that given by the stories of the Greek gods. Notwithstanding imparting this acknowledgment to Socrates, Plato saw that the thoughts and hypotheses of the pre-Socratics were conflicting, and there was required a substitute perspective of what made anything genuine and how one could know anything. Presently, for Socrates, Plato and Aristotle, the thought of the Greek divinities came to look bad in the light of reason. Thus the thought of a more theoretical element rises with them as all the most fulfilling as the clarification of inceptions and request. Their thoughts fulfill the directs of explanation behind which they deserted the visually impaired adherence to the stories of their predecessors. These are advancements that check the starting points of philosophical thought in the West. With other Western religious belief frameworks, there were additionally prompts to the advancement of a basic thought convention. The early Hebrew God is one that has evident shortcomings and is not in any way idealizing all around. It is envious and malicious and uncalled for. For the Christians, the thought of the Hebrew divinity was not going to be adequate to the individuals who had gone under the impact of the Greek way of thought. The Christians take the thought of the all-flawless being, the wellspring of all that is genuine, great and excellent, from the Greeks, and layer it over the single divinity of the Hebrews. The Western conventions regard the sacred texts as being in some sense divinely motivated or composed, and subsequently, for some in those customs who are moderate and simpletons, they convey the thoughts of the early Hebrew God alongside them, prompting intricacies as there emerges the need to clarify how an all-decent God and all-lenient God can be so merciless and malicious as in a portion of the stories in the early books or parts of the sacred writings. The problem of evil emerges as an endeavour to give a record that bodes well in respect to how an all-flawless being could exist, while there subsists moral underhandedness. Issues with a basic belief, brief basic reflection and the longing to utilise motivation to bolster the belief framework. The thought of the troublesome issues prompted Augustine and Aquinas moving past the custom of confidence and into philosophical thought and a dependence on motivation to translate and safeguard key beliefs in the Christian convention. As of late, individuals obtain beliefs and thoughts that are beginning from a few distinctive belief frameworks and periods, the traditional, current and post-present day. Unfortunately, most begin by an oblivious acknowledgement that holds beliefs without inquiry, regardless of the numerous irregularities and indiscernible elements of the resultant gathering. They acknowledge the thoughts as valid as they start from powers and as they are partaken in by companions. They acknowledge of a yearning to be acknowledged and to satisfy. The general post-present-day society advances uncritical thought examples, thus there are no prompts for intelligent or basic thought. Among the conflicting beliefs are the thoughts that are held all the while of relativism and absolutism, observation and optimism, opportunity and determinism, realism and a non-physical personality. Among the numerous odd mixes of beliefs are a solitary divinity must exist and everybody is qualified for put stock in whatever they wish concerning the God and it will be valid. Reality comprises of physical and profound substances, and the truth is whatever any gathering concurs that it is. There are morally wrong or friendishness acts, and whatever individuals believe is ethically right, is ethically right for them. There are clever acts, and there is nobody approaches to proclaim anything to be malevolent. One should make moral judgments for their well-being and survival, and that nobody should make moral judgments about other individuals and their practices. There are genuine and false claims, and truth is not objective. There is learning, and there is no outright or objective or certain information. Science is to be esteemed and trusted, and old stories, mythology and mysticism are similarly worthy wellsprings of learning. Human conduct is the consequence of underlying elements and of what is ordained or bound for every human, and people are thoroughly allowed to choose for themselves what they will do. Philosophy rises inside of a society when the belief frameworks no more answer all the essential inquiries, and there are acknowledged issues with the acknowledged arrangement of beliefs. One of the numerous issues with the post-present day belief set is that there are no disagreements or troubles with belief sets that should be tended to on the grounds that inconsistencies and irregularities are adequate, as there are no target criteria for thought to fulfill. Thus, there is no requirement for the formal educational system to be creating basic intuition concerning them. Rather, there is a misrepresented and destructively emphasizes of the estimation of the resilience of all beliefs and viewpoint frameworks. Sentiments are not to be recognized from demonstrated cases, there being no goal learning, and each case is simply an assessment. The acquired beliefs and viewpoint frameworks are not inspected inside of the formal instructive scaffold, as it is imbued all through with post-cutting-edge relativism. Huge numbers of the educators themselves had of the mixed-up belief frameworks. In this way, numerous understudies touch base in universities with poor propensities for brain and plague with beliefs that are garbled and conflicting. Further, they are ahead of beliefs that make the improvement of their basic deduction abilities exceptionally troublesome. Some trust that all cases are sentiments and that there is no purpose behind them to look at thoughts and beliefs that they hold as they are qualified for holding whatever beliefs they hold, and they stay inside of their social sets and do as such they trust that they have to keep on holding the belief frameworks that are prevalent with those groupings and sometimes characterize those gatherings. Mental propensities and belief frameworks are not effectively irritated or called into genuine inquiry when they perform valuable capacities for the adherent and do as such in an intense way. On the off chance that a belief framework puts forth trust and encouragement, even with death of a friend or family member or expected passing of one's own self, then there is an exceptionally solid drive to hold those beliefs because of a paranoid fear of the scholarly disarray that, if dreaded, would come about by the dismissal of the well-known belief framework. Further, there is the trepidation that in tolerating another belief framework, one is backstabbing to those gatherings to which one has a place that holds that belief set in like manner. May be most compelling in the choice to hold the beliefs that solace one is the yearning to have a spirit that survives the demise of the physical body and to have an unceasing life in inconceivable joy, which are thought to be lost if the belief framework is rejected for another in which such wishes are not ensured to be satisfied. The capacity to have control over one's beliefs might likewise be valued to the point that numerous would practice the decision to keep up the old consoling beliefs as a showcase of that capacity, in this way keeping up the fantasy of control as opposed to see the decision of examination and conceivable correction or dismissal of the belief framework as another experience offering confirmation of the capacity to control some part of one's life. It is far more straightforward and temperate to preserve beliefs than to consider amendments thereof. Tolerating and proceeding with beliefs that one is given is far less exhausting in exertion than the watchful and basic examination of belief frameworks and the assessment and choice-making included in the advancement and upkeep of a belief frameworks that is intelligent and bolstered by confirmation. Individuals need to hold whatever beliefs that they embrace and give no record for them other than to attest their entitlement to hold whatever beliefs they pick and to demand that they should be endured in doing as such by all others. One of the acknowledged beliefs is that of resilience as an estimation of the most noteworthy social significance. Resilience is a quality explained upon in a post-current society as strong of the relativism that is a fundamental part of the post-present day epistemology, power and morals. Resistance is not to be addressed as a quality as it is elevated as a foundation to an alluring social game plan. Yet resistance itself is a disvalue as post-innovators would have advanced it. Resilience is not regarded. To be tolerant is to endure something. It does exclude tolerating it or considering it as significant or commendable. The resilience of individuals and beliefs is advanced, yet it is misinformed and destructive, at whatever point to be tolerant of practices and thoughts would hurt people and gatherings in physical and passionate ways. The individuals who advocate resilience in any way, shape or form are genuine in doing as such. This is so since they don't support being tolerant of attackers, killers, youngster molesters, racists, sexists, narrow-minded groups and individuals. They can't be tolerant of such individuals and expect their advancement of resistance to be acknowledged by others. Post-cutting-edge pluralists keep on advancing resilience as though it were unfit for, and they don't expect nobody else will subject their advancement to basic examination, for such an examination would not be famous or politically right. They keep on advancing resilience as though it were unfit, for they don't hold cautious and basic thought as being significant as they trust that such thought challenges relativism. They additionally erroneously trust that basic intuition is some way or another narrow-minded of people, gatherings and practices and beliefs they wish to have acknowledged. The formal instructive framework advances an uncritical resistance and the faith in such and estimation of such. Chapter 4. Philosophy, Opinions and Right Answers. Most people ponder philosophy. Of the individuals who do, numerous have a few mistaken thoughts regarding the order and its history. A standout amongst the most troublesome for philosophers of the mixed-up thoughts is that it is about feelings. This thought, when taken after by the thoughts that suppositions are all people have with which to think and all assessments are really a lot of equivalent esteem, these two thoughts run straightforwardly contradicted to what scholars are endeavouring to do. Philosophers go after knowledge, which for John Dewey is the mission to utilize what we know, not what we generally esteem. Logicians do this by utilizing basic speculation concerning every one of that people case to know and to esteem. This rapidly turns into a very included procedure, looking at the significance of information and different thoughts, for example, reality, truth, belief, and worth, among numerous other fundamental terms. Scholars take positions on the inquiries, issues and subject confronted by the most incredulous of masterminds inspecting the most fundamental worries that people can amuse with mindful reflection. Scholars use basic thinking and reason as well as proof to bolster the cases that they make and the position that they hold. This is entirely not the same as just putting forth a case, an announcement which is upheld by nothing and consequently a declaration of the speaker's conclusion. Logicians are willing to look at all cases and all positions with their supportive thinking and confirmation. They inspect it, searching for any imperfections or issues. They need the most tasteful and on occasion fulfilling answers and arrangements to the inquiries and issues. With Plato and his tutor Socrates, you have a depiction of what philosophy is about. People are on a voyage. On the way, they confront hindrances to succeed. Significant inquiries, issues and subjects are similar to streams that should be crossed. Presently, along one side of the stream, there are these flat boats. When you achieve the waterway, you might choose any flat boat you need to use to get over the stream. There is a wide range of sorts. They are all that anyone could need for everybody. They contrast in shading, shape, materials, technique for development and size. You need to choose an ideal flat boat with which to cross the waterway. No pontoon is great. Every pontoon has an issue. Every flat boat tackles water. Some interpretations are of a great deal and some particularly nothing. Some are assembled in an exceptionally trashy way and some are extremely all-around developed. Some folks look for the right answer to an issue or the precise solution to a problem. Philosophers have learned that what they do is looked for the most excellent possible answers and explanations. So one shall look now at how Socrates developed better schemes for finding the finest answers, and then shall scrutinize several important questions or issues and look at what philosophers have done with them over time. In all of this, the focus should be on the method of thinking that aims to arrive at the best potential, if not ideal, answers, clarifications and positions. Dealt with origins? Read out about the 5 branches of philosophy in the next and last chapter of this course. Chapter 5. Branches of Philosophy. This brief yet informative chapter talks on the 5 branches of philosophy, which are as follows. First, epistemology. Epistemology is the investigation of learning. Epistemology manages the procedure by which people can realize that something is valid. It addresses inquiries, for example, what would I be able to know? How is learning obtained? Can we be sure of anything? Inside of epistemology, there are 2 imperative classifications, logic and observation. Logic stresses reason as an essential component in knowing. Realism holds that information is picked up principally through the psyche. It likewise affirms that we are convinced with inalienable thoughts that go before any encounters one might have with our physical faculties. Induction, then again, affirms that all your insight originates from your 5 detects. To utilize the wording of the empiricist John Locke, one's brains are a clear slate during childbirth. Consequently, information originates from your encounters. Second, metaphysics. Metaphysics is the analysis of reality. More particularly, it is the investigation of reality that is past the exploratory or scientific domains. The expression metaphysics itself accurately signifies past the physical. The magical issues most examined are the presence of God, the spirit, and the hereafter. Third, ethics. Ethics is the study of first-class esteem, good and bad. It is included with putting quality to individual activities, choices and relations. Critical moral issues today incorporate premature birth, sexual ethical quality, capital punishment, willful extermination, smut, and the earth. Fourth, logic. Logic is the investigation of right thinking. It is the device thinkers use to consider other philosophical classifications. Great rationale incorporates the utilization of good thinking abilities and the invasion of rationale false notions. Fifth, aesthetics. Aesthetics is the research of craftsmanship and magnificence. It endeavours to address such issues as what is craftsmanship? What is the relationship in the middle of magnificence and craftsmanship? Are there target guidelines by which craftsmanship can be judged? Whether or not someone or something is attractive depends on individual preference. With this comes this course to an end. Read the next segment to get a quick review. Conclusion. Philosophy is a technique for intuition used to make an ideal choice of the flatboat, which is the response to the most fundamental inquiries that people have about existence, information, truth, goodness, magnificence, and so on. Philosophers hope to develop the best possible spot and look forward to that it will do well when experienced. Over the centuries, those positions philosophers thought were the finest have been publicized to have issues. Newfangled drafts were constructed and tested and found wanting again. So philosophy is the mission for the greatest possible raft, knowing that it is highly probable that there is no perfect raft. As humans move ahead and develop and congregate more experiences and develop more critical analysis and evaluation techniques, philosophical positions are inspected more personally and experienced more thoroughly. Philosophy is a process. It is a method of use, and as one's awareness grows, so too will philosophy take all of it into consideration as the method attempts to generate the best possible comeback to the most significant questions. Thank you for reading out this course. Hope it was helpful.